Hey everyone, welcome to Reddit Readout. Today we are checking out People of Reddit. Story 1. If I can't use it, you can't use it. Super small petty revenge that I just did yesterday. So I work in a very large factory. In this factory there are lots of pallets and boxes that mostly get moved by forklifts, but each department has their own pump trucks or hand jacks to move things around. These things are like gold and people will take each other's all the time and not return them to the correct departments. All of them have individualized department numbers on them so we know where they belong. In my department, I had 3 pump trucks. 2 of the newer ones were blue and okay, took a while to pump up to move boxes. My oldest one was yellow and worked the best, super easy to pump up and had great wheels, it was wonderful. All 3 had my department number spray painted on them. The department next to mine didn't have pump trucks, so they kept taking mine. I tried to give them one of my newer blue pump trucks and told them that I wanted to use the old yellow one because it was my favorite. Plus, it's mine, I should be able to use it, right? Or if they use it, please return it. But, they would take it and keep it in their department. And this went on for over a year. Every day I would have to come in and take back my favorite pump truck and give them one of the other ones to use. Over a year ago I tried to lock up my pump truck with a chain and padlock, and someone cut my lock off and threw it out, lol. I started getting really sick of every day having to take back my pump truck. I even told one of the guys in the other department that I was getting tired of taking it back, and he sympathized with me. He wasn't the only one taking it. Other shifts would take it after I went home and the next day I'd have to come take it back. I told him, I'm getting tired and as much as I love this pump truck, I'm going to scrap it if I have to keep taking it back because nobody returns it to my department. He tried getting better at returning it or using the other pump truck, but he quickly realized what a pain it is when other people take it and don't return it. So, yesterday I decided that if they were going to keep taking it, that nobody will use it. When nobody was looking, I took my pump truck and walked it to the far end of the factory, like a good quarter mile away, and left it in another department, essentially giving it away to someone else. They will never find it or see it again. I was sorry seeing my favorite pump truck go, but honestly, my mental health is more important. And after over a year of fighting over this pump truck, I'm glad I no longer need to think about it. Now we both have to use the other blue pump trucks that are not as good, but I can smile knowing that I told them please return my pump truck or I would make it disappear and I kept my word. Story 2. Shitty roommate fee. I met 2 people in a housing group who were nice, then we moved into a house already occupied by a guy and his sister. The sister refused to pay utilities BC she was away most weekends. The guy hoarded dirty dishes until mold grew then dumped them in the sink. He complained that he lived in a house of women but they didn't clean up after him. He dumped trash on the sidewalk and floor. Threatened to throw away our stuff and joking about us not getting our deposit back BC he was trashing the house. The roommates were nice, but then every conversation became siding with him to keep the peace. Since I was there first and naive, I took over the 3 utilities accounts but we agreed to split them up once everyone had moved in. Then they all refused to, citing a bunch of BS excuses. Cue petty revenge. I could just close my accounts and have us go without electricity, water, Wi-Fi, etc. and cause a big fight. I decided instead to Venmo request everyone extra money every month. They thought their portion of the utilities was $160, when it was actually $130 each. It was just for the last 3 months and initially meant to cover my losses in case they refused to pay the last month of utilities, which one of them did. I was so worried about being stuck with a $500 utility bill the last month BC I get billed 2 weeks after, so everyone would be gone. Once I found a new place, I sent the landlord documentation of what I listed above, the mold, trash, threats. He had no idea, and messaged the group chat that we had a month to move out as he was selling the houses, a loophole in our lease. This was a shock to everyone else BC nobody knew I had sent the documentation, and they scrambled to find housing, when I already had a place ready. Story 3. And 6 from the Russian judge. The first apartment my husband and I lived in some 30-odd years ago was on the 3rd floor of a 4-story brownstone walk-up. It was a gorgeous apartment with high ceilings and hardwood floors. We loved this apartment, it was close to the university we both attended, mass transit, and best of all, had a well-run management company that expected all of the residents to act like adults, keep common areas clean, and be respectful about noise. They didn't play around when it came to noise complaints. You got a warning for the first instance, right up for the second, we're out on the third. All of this to say we rarely if ever had any issues with noise. This apartment was located in a city known for its harsh winters. Heat and hot water were included in our rent, and the heat came through steam radiators. This building was built in 1924 and had a huge boiler room that did an excellent job of keeping the apartments warm. Sometimes too warm. There were many days where we would be lounging around in shorts with the windows open because the heat was working too well. If you have ever lived with radiators, you know that they can also be excellent conduits for sound. It only took one visit from our upstairs neighbors telling us he could clearly hear our TV one evening for us to realize that we needed to keep TVs, stereos, etc. away from the radiators. One Saturday night I woke up to hear the amorous exultations of someone in the building. There were loud moans, an occasional "oh my god" and rhythmic bed squeaks. It soon ended. I went back to sleep, no harm, no foul, glad somebody is having a good night. But then I was awakened a few hours later by the same noises. My husband woke up as well. The noise soon ended, we gave our lucky unknown neighbor air high fives and went back to sleep. The next day, there were multiple occasions, always less than 10 minutes, when we could hear the neighbor's pleasure. By the third time we decided to investigate. As the noise was coming through the radiator, it could have been from any of the apartments above or below us. So we waited, but the noise didn't happen again and we went about our lives. A few weeks later, again on a Saturday evening, the noise happens again. And again. And again. Now, we are tired and grouchy but had to be somewhere on Sunday so couldn't investigate. When we get home that evening, no noise. This becomes a repeated issue happening every 3 weeks, and after a Sunday of running up and down stairs, we realize the culprit is our downstairs neighbor. Let's call her Susan. We had met Susan on multiple occasions and she was always very nice. We regularly has Wednesday evening potlucks in our apartment, and in interest of not disturbing anyone, and avoiding annoying the management company, we always informed her ahead of time, and she had joined us a couple of times. So you can understand discomfort in confronting Susan about the amorous exultations. So we decided to just ignore it as much as possible, and this went on for months. During all of this, the apartment directly upstairs had undergone a switch in residents. Previously the resident had been a professor at our university who lived there during the week and traveled home to his family on the weekends. He had moved out and Dave had moved in. We met Dave in the basement laundry room shortly after he moved in, and the three of us hit it off. We quickly became fast friends, with us traveling back and forth between the two apartments to hang out. His boyfriend was also really cool, and neither my husband or I really worried about hanging out with Dave and / or his BF without the other. One Sunday afternoon, one of Susan's on weekends, I'm working on classwork in the living room when I hear a knock on the front door. I open the door and there is Dave, looking embarrassed. He won't look me in the eye and mumbles something about how he can hear us. Dude, I'm home alone, what can you hear? It's at this point I realized Dave could hear Susan and her bedmate from downstairs. I had closed the bedroom door so I wouldn't be disturbed. I open the door, and of course now they are quiet. So Dave and I go back into the living room and I grab a bottle of wine before I explain the schedule of Susan and the sex sounds. An hour-ish and a bottle of wine later, the noises start again. Dave is amazed that we have endured this so long. But what were we supposed to do? I'm sure Susan doesn't know we can hear her. Another bottle of wine and some pizza later and we come up with a funny, and more importantly, anonymous way of informing Susan about the noise. A craft project ensues and shortly thereafter we have a fully realized sex Olympics scorecard. There are 3 judges and the scores are from 1 to 10. I don't remember exactly what we wrote, but I think it was something like, German judge 8.5, nice technique, good use of creativity, wish you had stuck the landing. The only one I vividly remember is that they only got a 6 from the Russian judge. Giggling, we sneaked downstairs and slid the scorecard under her door and then raced upstairs to hide in Dave's apartment. I'm not sure if Susan ever knew who sent the scorecard, but I do know that the noise died down after that. The bed squeaks prevailed, but there was an effort to stifle the rest of the exultations. Story 4. Wanna yell at teenagers and fuck up my pay? Meet my mom. Edit. Edited for clarity. I am still employed at this place of work, so I will not be disclosing the name, but it is a popular coffee chain. I, F16, and another co-worker, also F16, who I will call Cleo for this, were working. My manager Sharon, rhymes with Karen so it fits, came in to help because it was getting pretty busy. She brought her kids who are F7 and F3. In between taking orders, we are required to do certain chores during our shifts so the people who are taking over the next shift are prepared. I am making sandwiches and Cleo is out back doing dishes. My co-worker, who I will name Chad, was running late. This is a usual occurrence, and as a result I couldn't count my drawer up front or in drive-through. My mom is parked outside waiting for me and decides to come in to order something, but really it was to see WTF was going on. Sharon was sweeping near the front counter and she notices my mom. She huffs and puffs and yells to me, "Where is Cleo?" I told her she was out back and I'd get her. Cleo comes to the front and Sharon yells at her saying, "Where were you? There's a customer here." Cleo is on the verge of crying ADP but takes my mom's order. Remember Sharon's kids? Yeah, they're in the lobby absolutely demolishing the place. Stabbing the cloth sign we have in the lobby with markers, making a mess which I had to deal with, etc. I was supposed to end my shift at 8 but ended up getting out at 9 due to Chad. I also couldn't clock out because of the POS being broken. So I wrote a note on the whiteboard and also messaged my DM and went home. The next day I checked my work app to see if they fixed it. I saw that not only did my DM fix it, but it was edited by Sharon saying I clocked out at 8:30, which coincidentally, was the time she left. I tell my mom and we both get in her car to talk to my manager. I ended up staying in the car in order to avoid confrontation with Sharon, but my mom went in and spoke with Sharon. Needless to say, my mom went off, telling Sharon that she has the balls to yell at teenagers but not her own crotch goblins, and tells Sharon to fix my clock out time or she would contact her boss, who's the DM. It was fixed, and fast forward a couple weeks later she quits. That's all for today. Please don't forget to like and subscribe.